Hello and welcome to the Sega Mega Masters show. Today we're going to look at Altered Beast, a well-known side-scrolling action platforming game that has a few beat-em-up elements thrown in there, and it's set in ancient Greece. Today we have with us Rick, Steve-O, and Viraj. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey,
Everybody.
let's do this.
Yeah, so diving straight into the game then. The main gimmick with this game is that your character transforms as you progress. You get 3 transformations, one into an athletic fighter, then into a big hulking man mountain, and finally into the mythical Altered Beast. Each beast has different abilities, and you can only finish the stages when you're in beast form. The game was developed and published by Sega, originally released in June 1988 in the arcades, and was, of course, featured in the Mega Drive stroke Genesis bundles, which was released later on that year in October. This was Steve's suggestion to cover. So let's get straight into it. So we're going to go around Robin. Here we are.
Yeah, you pulled yours out. Okay.
Yeah.
it was on the Mini as well. It was on the Mega Drive and Genesis Mini too, which is great. But let's do this. Come on.
Yes. So we're going to go around everybody's memories. So I'm going to go in the order that I'm seeing it here. So Rick, we're going to jump straight to you, mate. What are your memories of Altered Beast?
Okay, so I was playing Altered Beast in the arcades in 1988. It was one of my probably more favorite games to play when I went in there. When we used to hang out in the mall as kids, we would probably usually stay away from the more expensive games, but Altered Beast we could still play for a quarter.
Nice.
And I love that game. I was very impressed with it. You always knew when Altered Beast was playing in the arcade because it had those distinctive sounds and sayings and everything. Plus, on that particular game, it was probably one of the first times that I had played an arcade that had such big characters to play. The size of the sprites they were using at that time. They're small compared to today's
Yeah.
But at the time that I thought they were huge.
Impressive.
And anyway, so love the game in the arcade, and then the Sega Genesis came out, and that was the pack-in game for my particular console. And to my teenage eyes and ears, it seemed to me like I was playing the arcade game, and it was surreal, and I loved the experience. Played the absolute crap out of that game and thoroughly enjoyed it, and have loved it through the years.
Nice.
It's still a great game. I
Yeah.
think I'm going to save some of my other comments about the game for later, but this was my first game. This is my experience with Altered Beast initially.
Lovely job, mate. Lovely job. What about you, Viraj?
Right. Because I'm like the baby of this group, and I was literally I was very young when I first played the game. I was like 6 or 7. I never had it on my Mega Drive, and as a kid, my family would go visit other members of friends of the family and community members and all that, and went to this guy. My dad goes, we're going to Viru Uncle's house. I went to Viru Uncle's house, and he had his Mega Drive set up, and that's when I first got to play Altered Beast, and he put the game on, and I watched it, and I was a bit bemused when I watched it because it's the first time I heard voices come out of the video game. And it's obviously as you start, it's like dun dun dun, rise from your grave, that voice. I'm like, oh, what's this? And you see these guys walking. You walk in. It's a bit of a slow game, and obviously at that point, I played Sonic before this because this is obviously, as you said, it was a pack-in title with the Genesis in '89 for the Americans, and in '90 it was a pack-in title with the Mega Drive, which is fair enough. I never had that as that version of it, but I played it and I thought, okay, what is this? And I thought it was a really interesting game. Hard as anything for a 6 or 7 year old to play. I thought, what is this? This game sucks. I'm not playing this. This is stupid. I thought, okay, I couldn't get into it. So at the time, I didn't think much of it at the time because I've been spoilt by greats like Golden Axe and World of Illusion and Sonic the Hedgehog. Those are my sorts of games. It's only in later years that I revisit that game, and I've got the arcade version. I've got Maestro City Mini here, and I played that version. It was interesting comparing the two. But yeah, that was my first experience with it. I didn't think much of it, to be honest. But yeah that's it.
Yeah. Fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. What about you, Steve?
Arcade was the first place I had ever played it, like prior to getting a Genesis. And yeah, I was still Nintendo back then, but when you get to go to the arcade, everything was always so much better. You get a roll of quarters and your mom goes shopping at the mall, and I'm probably just a few years younger than Fred. So, I wasn't old enough to go by myself, but our parents back then would drop us off someplace and leave us there, go have pizza. I'm going shopping. And that was like normal to leave, but a 10 or 12-year-old kid, and that's what we would do. Sit there and play that all day. I would never stop playing that game. I love that game back then. And when the Genesis came out and, it was a pack-in, that was awesome. I didn't get the pack-in with Altered Beast. I wound up with the fighting system that had Streets of Rage 2. So that was a little bit later on, that I didn't get the Genesis in 89. I got it, I want to say like 90, 91, something like that. So, yeah, that was the one I got. But playing it, my first friend that I remember getting the Genesis, he had Altered Beast. So, that was a big game to play at that time. There was not much else out there that was like it. So, that was pretty much my experience with it. And it was a great game because with two players in the arcade, together, you could beat that game. I mean, within, $4 or $5 maybe between the two of you if you're decent. You didn't have to keep pumping quarters in there. I remember when I beat Double Dragon in the arcade with a friend, I think we spent like $10. So Altered Beast we could do for like half the price because it was a shorter game.
Nice. Some good memories there, chaps. Yeah, no, I mean, mine are pretty similar. I got the Mega Drive back in September 1990 on UK release, and I'd not actually played. I was a big arcade chap, but I'd not played Altered Beast in the arcade beforehand, which were a big surprise, really, considering I used to live in arcades. Really, I just never really seen it about in the arcades I frequented. And my group of mates were actually, because it were a free packing, we didn't really care about it. Do you know what I mean? It were similar like what Virage experienced. It were kind of it's a bit of a freebie. It's it's an okay game, and it were. I played it and I enjoyed it, but I weren't like super stoked on it. So replaying it now, I've got a bigger appreciation for it. That's for sure. So we'll go around each person then, and we'll get your opinion on it. Now we're all older and wiser. So let's go back to you then, Rick. Let's see what you have to say about it now, mate.
Okay. As long as I've spent with Altered Beast and as much as I appreciate it and love that game, I can't say that it's held up very well. I consider it an entry-level game for someone who is just starting out to play the Sega Genesis, and they could get like a feel for how the graphics and the sound are on this particular console. But it's a short game. It's only a few stages. It's not particularly challenging, even on the hardest levels. You can beat it quite easily yourself if you practice. It's not particularly complicated or detailed. It's quite simple and straightforward. It's okay, but it's just kind of like an entry-level game. So I don't know really what else to say about that.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. Some good points there, mate. Definitely. What about you, Viraj? I'm interested to get your view on this, with you being like kind of retrospectively coming to it anyway.
So I revisited this game a couple of years ago because it was preloaded on this thing, on the Mega Drive Mini. And it must be good if they Sega themselves put it on there. I mean, out of all the library, they had 42 games to pick, and they picked it and put it on this. So let's give it a go. It's primitive. It was a release title. We have to be fair, and it is very much a game of its time. It is a game of its time, and it was Sega's stance of saying we can do the arcade at home, and it is very much a decent arcade port. If you play the arcade game, and I have played it again, that's on my Astro City Mini, and I've got this version here, and it is. I mean, you say it's relatively an easy game, Rick. I'm saying if you know what you're doing, yeah, but there's a lot of trial and error. You will die. You'll die a lot, and you only have 3 credits, and then you get game over. You have to start at the beginning again. So yes, it's a short game because what is it? 4 levels long, 5 levels long,
5.
5 levels long. So you're gonna beat it through trial and error, and you realize, okay, I know what to do now after this dying, but you will die a lot. So there is punishment with this game. If you want something easy and you're used to playing games like Super Mario World, this game isn't for you because it's not it's not going to forgive you. With the arcade ROM, I can just put as many credits as I want and get through it. But look, it's a game you have to give a chance and play through it, and you have to be mindful. This was made in 89-90, and it was a pack-in. It was something that they gave in free. And yes, the impression you probably would have had then, it's like you said, Dan, it was a freebie. It can't be that good, right? Sega happened to just chuck it in there. That's until Sonic the Hedgehog came along, and that was a really good freebie. And that was me. That was me. But I have to say that I like Altered Beast. I don't think it's like when I was a kid, I wasn't impressed because I played other games which are better, and there are other games that are better. That's the truth. But in the context of the time that it came out, it's a good game. It made people think, oh wow, you can actually take the graphics from an arcade and play it at home, and that's what that was about. That was the app that they were going with in 1990, 1989 with this system. So there was an impact on this, but to get to the point, which is the question, I'm more waffling on, going off on a tangent for, but it's a good game for its time, but it was easily overshadowed the following year with better arcade ports, and that's obviously stuff like Golden Axe, and eSWAT and stuff like that came out. But I'd say it's a good game, not a great game, but it was iconic for its time, and it was a staple to the system. And I think, like I said, the memory of the Rise from Your Grave and Welcome to Your Doom, the fact that they put voice samples in the game was very memorable. The music was good. We've not talked about the music in this game. I would say it's actually decent for what it was at the time. But again, a mediocre to average game, I would say.
Fair play, mate. Fair play. To you then, Steve.
I would say my opinion is pretty similar to everyone else's so far. It's a dated game. Do I still enjoy it? Yes. I have some, obvious nostalgia for it because, I played it as a kid. If you compare it to later beat 'em up type games, or even, 2D shooters or shoot 'em ups where you walk through, I mean, later on in Sega, I mean, the graphics and the scrolling got better. I mean, even if you just to when Altered Beast came out, like Revenge of Shinobi, you can see, in my opinion, that game was definitely, somebody spent more time on it. It almost seems like Sega just needed to get some.
Oh.
Always froze.
It's frozen.
It's frozen time.
Oh no.
Oops a days. Oh, he's back.
Sorry. I feel like there was a lot more that the Genesis could do that they.
Oh no. Okay.
Oh, are we losing him?
Steve-O.
He's gone. Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's gone.
Oh,
he's
man.
gone. We'll try and get him back in a minute.
Yeah,
we'll try and get him back in a minute. Well, while he's gone, I'll give you my impressions of it. I've got to be honest, chaps. I'm bucking the trend slightly. I think this is quite a good game. I actually really like Altered Beast, and I actually like it for kind of opposite to the reasons that Rick gave, that I like it because it's a short game. This for me is one of the ideal games that you put on when you're putting your dinner on to cook, or you're waiting for your missus to do her hair, or you know what I mean. It's just something to kill 15 to 20 minutes. That's an easy play, really. And I also actually think it's a lot. I wouldn't say it's definitely a simple game. It's definitely not a complicated game at all. But I think it's more unique than people give it credit for, because you've got your scrolling screen that is very rare in action platform beat 'em ups. It's more like a shoot 'em up mechanic. And then
I love the parallax scrolling in Altered Beast.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the fact that the screen is constantly moving is something that you don't see in many action games or beat 'em ups. And the fact that you don't actually duke it, it's not about duking it out with the enemies. It's about being placed in the right time and taking the right risks. And you've got to get them spirit balls. The spirit balls are that's the bit for me that you're not just simply beating enemies up to win.
Yeah.
You're having to place yourself right to get the spirit balls at the same time. So for me, there's actually an extra dynamic there. Here we are. We've got Steve. Steve back.
So
I don't know what happened.
It's all right, mate. No worries, mate. So yeah, I'll just finishing my bit off. When you're gone, I started mine. So I'm basically saying that I actually quite liked Altered Beast, and I think it's quite unique. Again, and something else that makes it unique is the beast changing mechanic. One of the big flaws I do think that the game has is that if you play it well, you don't get to change into a beast for very long. If you get all your 3 spirit balls at the same time, you end up fighting the boss pretty much straight away. So that's a bit of a disappointment, really. But generally speaking, I actually like this more now as an adult than I did as a kid. As a kid, I would like Steve was saying, I bought Revenge of Shinobi with the Mega Drive, and they got way more playtime. But as an adult now, Altered Beast really fills a void in for me of I've got 20 minutes to kill. Let me put something on that's just nice and simple, but a bit different as well. So sorry, Steve. Yeah. Back to you, mate. Back to you. You were saying, Chief. Oh, he's gone again.
Oh no, man. Oh dear. Oh well.
Oh no, he's not. It's not happening, is it? No, he's dropped out.
God. Well.
Oh well. Right. Right then. Well, that is kind of 3.5 opinions anyway. It is.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I want to just touch on was one thing I loved as a kid watching was the Beast animation. That was really interesting. Like, and you just you see that little screen and all that happens. So I thought, okay, this is quite. I found it quite funny as a kid, to be honest. But as an adult, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked. I have to say, looking back and playing that game, I can understand. I have to look at it in the context of the time it came out, what the game was about, what people might have thought about it at the time, and it was revolutionary and it was a game changer at the time. So I would say I agree with the point that you've raised, Dan. You know, it is a good 20-minute game that you can just play through. You know, and it's quite fun. But again, the problem that how do you compare it? How do you rate it as a game? Do you respect it as a game for its time? Do you compare it to games of the same era that came out?
And for me, this is why the show. This is what I like about it, because we all have our own way of doing rating things. And for me personally, I just rate games on how I play them now, what I think to them. But obviously, there's like you say, you've got all the other considerations of do you contextualize it into time and what have you, what not.
For me, look. So are we going to give ratings now?
Let me just see, Steve. Can you give us some life? Can you give us a wave? Yeah, no, we're gonna have to rate it. I don't think Steve's he's happening today, bless him. But he's dropped out again. So yeah, let's do his ratings then. Let's go for the ratings then, boys. So let's start with Rick. I can hear his paper.
well,
I can hear his paper rustling away.
yeah, I got as iconic as Altered Beast is, and as much as I love this game, and I do love this game, um, it's 2023, and I have to be honest. And as far as games hold up, I'm going to have to give this game a 6.
Right, fair enough, mate. That's a fair enough. Lovely
Bro,
job.
I didn't know we were holding up numbers. I would have made my own little draw. Like,
You're gonna have to use your fingers, mate. You're gonna have to use your fingers.
Yeah, I'm to be honest, I was going to give it a 6 as well. So
There we go.
I'll give it a 6. It's a good game for its time. It is a game that I can replay, but if I want to go back and play a Mega Drive game, Altered Beast isn't exactly on the top of my roster. So
Yeah.
But it's not a bad game. It's not a bad game by any means. And we can. There's a number of games I could just point right now in my head right now. I can say are bad games, but look, that's a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. Well, I'm gonna probably surprise you, chaps. Then I'm gonna rate it a fair bit higher, actually. No, I don't. Like I say, I don't think it's an amazing game, but I find myself playing it a lot. I find myself going back to it just for the convenience. So I'm actually gonna give it a 8.
Okay.
All right.
Fine. So
that's really good.
Between us all, that's 20 out of 30, which is exactly what a start this is. 66.6%. So 666. So
it's a demonic game, that's for sure.
A demonic game, exactly. Exactly. So 66% then. So what are your final thoughts on it then, boys?
So, Altered Beast is a game that a new Genesis or Mega Drive player should try out. It should be one of the first games that they try out. It has enough redeeming values and things that you can still do at the end of it, like do the stage select or change the beast that you change into on the different stages. So it's got enough. It's got enough to entertain you, but I think it really does a good job in showing like the particular style of Genesis and Mega Drive graphics and that particular sound chip that they use. It's very unique sounding, and I think that Altered Beast is probably one of the perfect games that a new player should use to experience the 16-bit revolution.
I think you make a great point there, mate, about the cheats, because I actually think that makes it better than the arcade version. Because even though the arcade version is more punchy, you've got way more to experiment with and replay with by trying different stages with different beasts in this version. So I prefer it to the arcade version for that. So that's a great point. Sorry, mate.
I prefer it to the arcade version because one thing I didn't touch on is when I played the arcade ROM, and I played it by Maestro City Mini, is I noticed when you're playing it with the stick and you stop, he still moves a little bit there. The controls, it's not as tight as the Mega Drive. The Mega Drive had tighter controls, and I like to have control over my sprite. I don't know about you guys. So for that reason, I do prefer the Mega Drive game as opposed to the arcade game. Even though the arcade game is graphically superior and all that, I just like the way the Mega Drive one plays more, even though it's a bit unforgiving with only 3 credits, if you suck. To elaborate on what Rick said, it is a game that you want to play straight away because it's like, if you want to experience the Mega Drive library, you should start with that so you get a feel of it. But you have to be patient. It's going to punish you. Don't feel like a loser because you're going to get game over a lot. All right, but that's part and parcel of playing this game, and that's what makes you good at games. It's a game like that will punish you, that makes you good at games, and that again is what Sega Arcade, Sega Mega Drive was about. There are games that will punish you, and this is one of them. But it doesn't make it a bad game. Like it was mentioned earlier, it's a short game for what it is. But once you get good at it, that's when it becomes a short game. The game is you can actually invest a lot more than 20 minutes or whatever playing. Because you're gonna die. It can take up to an hour for you to get really good, even longer. It could take days, weeks. But depends. Everyone's got different growth rates. Everyone's got different ways they adapt to certain games. But it is a good game. But I'm still going to stick with my 6 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. Well, but now we've got Steve back. Let's get him. Let's get you rolling, Steve. You were saying about the opinion. So let's have your opinion and rating, please, Chief.
I still rate it as a great Sega game for the Mega Drive, for the Genesis. I love the arcade version as a kid, but I really feel like it hasn't held up as far as more modern Genesis titles, kicked butt in comparison. But it was a great game to start with. Once you figured out the patterns, you're gonna beat the game. It's just a matter of how much you want to play it. So everything's going to be in the same place every single time that you play it, and you just learn the pattern so fast and so quick because it's a short game, and you'll make it through it. That's pretty much how I feel about it. Would I pick it up over something a little bit more modern in the Genesis library? Probably not, but I can think of way worse games out there than Altered Beast. Altered Beast is still, in my opinion, one of the quintessential Genesis titles. It's not the Prom Queen though. There's definitely some better stuff.
So what's your rating on it then, mate? Out of 10?
I would say it's a 6.5 to 7 for me. Which
one? Which one?
7. I'd give it a 7. I'd give it a 7, mainly because of nostalgic purposes. It's an original launch title. It's almost like you can't have the one without the other. If you're a few years younger, Sonic is going to be your, that's going to be your most nostalgic game most likely. But for me, it's Altered Beast.
Sweet. Well, that gives it a final group rating. Then it ups it a little bit to 67.5%. So nice little addition. And I think. Like I say, you make some great points, some really great points there about how it's, if you view it it depends what angle you're viewing it from, don't it? And I like I say, there's a lot of games out there like Blades of Vengeance and the Immortal that if you want to sink into a game, you ain't going to put Altered Beast on. You're not going to do that. But if you just want a disposable throwaway game, then Altered Beast is actually quite fun, and especially, I mean, I've been playing it on the hardest setting this week, and the hardest setting has got a right kick to it. It can be. I think on the hardest setting it can kick your ass quite a bit. A lot of surprises in there, so good stuff.
The Immortal can destroy an entire summer for you. That's how long the game that is. Yeah,
it took me so we'll do obviously an episode on that at some point, but that took me years to finish. Absolutely years. So, yes, we'll do on that. But I think we've pretty much about covered it all, and we've kind of all crammed that into that nice 30-minute section. So that's excellent going, gentlemen. So,
right,
brilliant stuff. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. All for your opinions and times. We will no doubt do this again sooner rather than later, and we'll see you on the beach for next time, chaps.
All right.
Yep. All right. Sega.
Later. Sega.
Yeah.